Michigan's trees are bursting with more than just color in the fall season. Next, we're highlighting one of the most popular produces picked during fall harvest. Now, not pumpkins, those are coming a little bit later in the show, but Courtney Jerome is here to take us to the community of Wheeler to meet Eastman's antique apple orchard and Forgotten Ciders owner Nicole Ward.
Today we are in Wheeler, Michigan at Eastman's Antique Apples. And at this orchard right here, they have over 1,000 different varieties of apples.
And we get a lot of people bringing really nice stories to us, like my grandparents had such and such tree in their yard. Do you have this apple? And we do a lot of times because we have these old varieties of apples. So those are fun stories to connect for people and kind of bring back that nostalgia a little bit. We have apples from all over the world. We have big apples, small apples, we have crab apples, we've got ugly apples. And what we do is we use those to then make hard cider.
Nicole likes to say that she married into an apple family. About 35 years ago, her husband's uncle planted all of these trees, 14 acres of them. Amongst the branches are apples that are absolutely antique, documenting back to the 14, 15, and 1600s. Now, some of these apple varieties are well-known eating apples like Galas and Golden Delicious, while others aren't ones you want to bite into. In fact, Nicole calls those hard cider-specific apples spitters, as they taste so tart, you just want to spit them out.
There's like a famous family joke that they almost ripped out a bunch of the cider trees because they tasted so bad. But once they educated themselves a little bit more and got to learn more of the history about some of these apples, we really understood what a gem we had.
Nicole and her husband purchased the orchard from the family, stayed as exclusively an orchard for a couple of years, selling apples at events and out of white baskets at the Midland Farmers Market. And then things evolved. While they were selling a bunch of their cider apples to other cider makers, they were also experimenting making their own cider in their basement. They called their self-taught selves amateurs, but even as amateurs, they were being awarded medals for their hard ciders. Forgotten Ciders was born with 4 ciders to start, and over their first 5 years, they've created 19 ciders total.
We start with really good apples, and because of that, we're able to make some cool ciders.
A handwritten notebook passed down from her husband's uncle with rows and tree numbers listed has guided Nicole throughout the seasons, and she's updated the 3,000 trees into an Excel document now with approximate ripening dates, so she knows when to harvest what.
And it's not uncommon for us to be picking apples into the first week of November. So that's a pretty long season, definitely hitting it the hardest in September and October. But because we have so many different varieties, you spend a lot of your time like checking if it's ripe yet, going back and checking again if it's ripe yet, because you want to get it right at that peak time.
Now, one important thing to note here is that these apples, both big and small, are all hand-picked. You can see Nicole can perfectly pluck these here in no time, but just imagine how long it takes to harvest a tree full of apples this size.
I think one of the ciders that really put us on the map utilizes our red fleshed apples. Now, a high portion of those are crab apples, so those bites that you get from them are tart and tannic, and that translates directly into the cider. Those ciders that you drink of ours are tart and tannic, but they're beautiful, a beautiful red color, a rosé color, totally different than anything you've tried before.
From German Holstein apples to golden nuggets, York apples, Porter's Perfection, Roman stem apples, and Geneva crabs, it's educationally entertaining to learn all of the fun facts Nicole knows about her apples. And on a busy day in the orchard, she can pick about 40 bushels full.
1 bushel of apples is at least 3 gallons of cider. We get a pretty good yield. I think mostly because we do such a blend of apples. I think for pies, for sauces, and for cider, bigger blends make better things. So when people are like, what apple do you use for a pie? I say mix them all up. What do you use for applesauce? Mix them all up. Our highest variety hard cider that we've been able to make has 150 different varieties in it. I'm not out to always remake the same cider over and over again. And even if I do, it's going to be different from year to year, kind of similar to how wine would be with different vintages, except for that it's just going to be based on how the apples taste this year, what kind of the ratio of blends that I'm using. Always staying true to Michigan, only Michigan ingredients. I've famously said I'll never make a pineapple cider because you can't grow pineapple in Michigan.
Learn about everything going on year-round at the orchard, including tastings, by visiting Eastman's Forgotten Ciders Facebook page.